welcome to Virtual Bourbon Fest Part 3. I'm James, the bar manager here at Fremont Mischief on Canal.
And what are you going to make for us today, James?
Well, today's a little special. It's going to be one of my signature cocktails, the Old Locks. This time done with bourbon and a few other little changes in the recipe.
So the Old Locks, as in the Ballard Locks?
As in the Ballard Locks, one of my
Right.
favorite places to hang out and go, even on a smoky day like today.
Right down the canal?
Right down the canal, and it's extra fitting that it's a smoky day today because this is a smoky cocktail.
All right, tell us how you make it.
Sure. So before I get into the actual recipe and how to make this cocktail, I want to go into what it is. So the Old Locks is just like any other old-fashioned cocktail. I mean, we're starting out with our bitters, our sweet, and of course our strong. In this case, the Canal Street Bourbon.
Okay.
So with your traditional old-fashioned, bitters tend to be aromatic bitters, maybe a citrus bitters. You can use a sugar cube, simple syrup, gum syrup, whatever sort of sweet you want to. And then of course for that strong, you can use single malt whiskey, rye, bourbon, even rum in some cases. With the Old Locks cocktail, we're taking the strong, in this case, in the Canal Street Bourbon. Our bitters will be an allspice bitter, and we'll go with a little bit of sweet from some walnut liqueur, in this case, Sidetrack Nocino.
Okay, all right.
Your traditional old-fashioned gets garnished with an orange peel, maybe a cocktail cherry. The Old Locks gets garnished with a little bit of smoke and fire coming from rosemary and cinnamon that are torched.
All right, walk us through the steps.
Sure.
And how we can make this at home.
Absolutely. So, really easy to do at home. You can use a large ice cube if you have it. You can use smaller ice cubes if that's all you have available to you. Larger ice cubes are best. They really keep that dilution low while keeping that cocktail nice and chilled. So what you're going to want to do, in your small shaker or mixing glass, you're going to want to add about a 1/4 ounce of Sidetrack Nocino. It's going to add a little bit of sweetness, but you don't want to overdo it. Do about 1 pipette or 10 drops of your allspice bitters and 2 ounces of your Canal Street Bourbon. From this point, you'll want to stir it over ice, about 15 to 20 seconds to get it to a nice chilled and proper dilution. And then you'll pour this whole cocktail through a strainer over a large piece of ice.
So then how do I prepare my herbs?
So in a separate glass, we have a really high proof spirit, in this case a 151 proof spirit we make in-house here. And then we soak.
How might I find something like that at home, though?
You can find this at really any liquor store. There's a lot of rums and some other grain alcohols that are high enough proof to ignite. Again, safety first. Don't do it over dry wood. Over sink is probably best. From there, you want to soak your rosemary and cinnamon stick.
How long do I want to soak?
Doesn't need to soak for that long. The longer you soak, the more expressive your flame will be. About 15 seconds I found is about adequate. You want to use some tongs to fish it out, make sure your hands stay free of any of the spirit. And then I like to use a match, let the sulfur burn off, and then of course bring it to the outside edge of your herb. Keep your hand away from the flame. Let it burn for a few moments to just kind of pick up the aromas of that charred rosemary and cinnamon. And then you can cap it off with the large shaker tin, and that'll extinguish your flame.
Do you grow the rosemary on site?
Yeah, so Chef John was nice enough to let me pluck a few herbs, including this rosemary from his rooftop garden. We make sure to use the garden as much as possible in all of our cocktails. Something as simple as a basil smash to even just sprucing up our gin and tonic here in-house.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you so much for joining me again at Virtual Bourbon Fest Part 3. Cheers.
Cheers.